everybody. Welcome to the Mafia Me and Stanley podcast.
I'm Mafia Mom.
I am Mini Mafia. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing content.
So, Mini Mafia, how you doing today?
I am doing great. My sister's not here. She's at a Taylor Swift theater.
She is, yes, the movie of the New Eras tour, right? I think that's what it's called. And since she's obsessed with Taylor Swift, she is there, and we're just having a mom and Sunday, right?
Yes, we are.
Played some video games, hung out, right?
Yep,
It's been cool.
it has.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yes, how was your Halloween?
My Halloween was great. I got bunches of good candy.
Yes, you
and
did.
I went trick or treating by myself with my friend Fisher.
Yes, it was the first time you've been able to go by yourself, huh?
Yes, it was.
And how did it feel? Did you feel like did you feel grown up getting to go out and trick or treat by yourself?
I did.
That's awesome. And you were good and you behaved and you followed all the rules and yeah, it was a good day, right?
It was. I also saw a couple of my friends, Aiden, Carson, and Bryce.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we hope everybody out there had a nice Halloween. The Bills sent us into Halloween on a positive note, right?
Yes,
Game against Tampa Bay, at least a positive in the sense that it was a win. What did you think of that game? You fell asleep towards the end, so you didn't quite get to see most of the fourth quarter. But what did you think of the game from what you saw?
We definitely need to play better. Like if we're playing like that, we need against like the Bengals, which are coming up. We probably are going to lose.
I get that. I think the offense came out, and I know they didn't put up any first quarter points per se, but they were moving the ball very effectively. Hated the play call on third and goal from the one and fourth and goal from the one with us in shotgun. I didn't just once again stop putting him in shotgun in that situation. It makes no sense. You put him under center, and 100% you're in a better position all the way around. Run game, pass game, all of it. But we were at least moving the ball. They looked like they were in a rhythm. If you notice, we went to no huddle, which allowed Josh to make a lot of decisions at the line. Yeah, the J gun essentially, and it was more effective.
Has a gun as an arm.
Well, also it was called the K gun for Kelly
Yes.
because it moved so fast. So, yeah, I think all around, altogether, it was a much improved first half, but the second half got way too conservative. Both chances to go for it on fourth from the other side of the 50, and you passed. And I know Sam Martin had a great day, and our special teams played great, but it just you can't play like that against good teams because that game we should have been up, we should have blown them out by 3 scores, and instead we were thankful that a Hail Mary lands on the ground in the end zone without anybody touching it to get us the win, and that just it didn't need to come to that. I also thought defensively they got really conservative. And then the defensive penalties. So you didn't see that last drive, but we had them twice, fourth and long. The first time
Oliver got flagged twice.
No. The first time Teron Johnson got called for an illegal contact, that was just a bad call. Like basically the receiver came up, Johnson was on his outside, and he turned outside, ran right into Johnson. Johnson made contact with him because he ran into him and then just ran with him, and they called him for illegal contact. The ball wasn't even thrown there, nothing. And Teron Johnson was asked about it after the game, and he was like, that happened on every play, and they only called it that once because it was just a bad call. The other one was a fourth down, and Baker Mayfield took a sack. Jordan Phillips sacked him, and they called Jordan Phillips for a face mask. And on the replay, it was a face mask. Like Jordan Phillips has him. Even if he gets away from him, there's 4 other guys chasing him. There is no chance they're going to pick up the first down. Grabbing his face mask there was a horrible, selfish decision by Jordan Phillips, and it was a bad call.
Doesn't he like jump up and like grab his face mask?
No, he's like pulling him down, and he's like grabbing him around like the waist and the chest, and he just reaches up and grabs a face mask. I don't think he did it on purpose, but either way, he had to have felt he was on the face mask, and he still grabbed, and it almost cost us the game. Like it was a big mess up. We also had Von Miller jumping off sides, which gave them an extra free 5 yards. I can't really blame him for that. He was trying to time the snap count. He was trying to make a play. I can live with that 5 yards. But the 2 penalties on fourth down to keep the drive alive. We also had a penalty earlier in the game on a third or fourth and long that kept the drive alive. Some of these I think are just bad calls, but you're going to have to survive bad calls if you're going to be a good team because every team gets them. And the way we coached on Thursday, we will not survive playing like that against a good team. So it felt good to get the win, but I would like to see some improvements made.
Definitely.
Right. So, but there was a lot of positives to take out of that game, right?
Mhm.
So, what would you say? What would you say was your biggest positive?
I don't really remember the game much,
Okay,
but
fair enough. Well, Kincaid was a big positive, right? That was
yes,
somebody you talked about a lot.
Kincaid, yes, Kincaid.
Yeah. So,
Kincaid was
Kincaid,
definitely my positive. I am a huge fan of Kincaid, and he got his first touchdown
yes.
of his entire NFL career.
So, congratulations to Kincaid. I'm trying to look up his numbers because I meant to write them down
He
and I
had
didn't.
like 9 catches for 75 yards.
It was really good to see him become such a big part of the offense, and I think it's why we brought him here, and it's something that the Bills can really benefit from continuing to try. Maybe Dawson Knox being on IR and needing surgery is a blessing in disguise in some ways. Yeah, Kincaid ended up with 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. So that is really good production out of your tight end in that situation, and it was really good to see. Um, for me, and then you also had mentioned Benford. You thought Benford had a good game, right?
Yes,
He did a really good job on Mike Evans throughout the game.
he locked him up.
He did. He did. Mike Evans had 1 catch until the fourth quarter, and that last touchdown he caught it skimmed off of Benford's helmet. Like it was a very lucky play, and Benford was in perfect position. I have no complaints about him. I think that they both played really well.
Although, this we're gonna talk about this later, but I'm excited to see the new cornerback we signed.
I'm excited to see all 3 new pieces that we signed in the last few days. Yep. We signed a running back, a defensive tackle, and a cornerback. So those should all be really healthy additions to the Bills roster and helpful. All of them should be able to plug in and play. They're all veterans. They all understand the NFL and the system to a certain extent from teams they've played with prior to us. So I'm excited. I think all of them can be contributing factors heading into the playoffs, especially the one that you're most excited about. I think he's going to be a very big factor.
He shows up in big moments.
Yes, which we'll get to that a little later. As far as the Tampa Bay game goes, I think that my players of the game would go to Davis and Shakir. Davis ended up with 9 catches for 87 yards and a TD. We'll talk about my hot take from last week a little bit later. And Shakir ended up with 6 catches for 92 yards. And I think Shakir's was more about the timing of it. Like he really sparked the offense. One of the first passes he caught, instead of just stepping out of bounds and getting the yardage that he was given,
He destroyed it.
He continued to push up field. He ran a guy over. He fought for yards. And I remember a couple weeks ago saying that the difference that I felt in the game where in the Miami game when Dawson Knox caught the ball and ran over Holland to fight for the first down, and Dalton Kincaid caught the ball short of the first down and ran out of bounds. It shows how into that game they are. And, it was exciting seeing Josh get his legs going early. It made him a threat, and the defense was thinking about that later. Did you notice on the Kincaid touchdown that linebacker had to step to Josh because he was afraid Josh was going to take off again for good reason?
When you run early on with a quarterback,
especially one like Josh who could pick up so many yards.
Yes, yeah. And literally run all pro linebackers over.
Right.
And when you run quarterbacks like that early on, it automatically makes them a threat. Like no matter what you do, they're a threat for the rest of the game, even if they only run like once or twice.
Right.
Like you have to have that in the back of your mind, and that's what that linebacker had. And I got to give him. Honestly, I got. One sec.
It's okay. Take your time.
I gotta give him credits for stepping to Josh, considering it's Josh.
But he put him in a bind there, and he had to make a choice between staying with the underneath coverage on the tight end or yeah. And, either way, he was going to be wrong there because Josh was waiting for him to make that decision to see what he was going to do. So, but none of that happens if Josh isn't running that game, because you can see lately teams have not been as concerned about plugging up those holes and worried about his legs. So I don't want to see Josh take unnecessary hits, but I do think getting him going like that early in games is helpful. So yeah, I think Davis and Shakir and Josh's legs all played a huge part in why the offense got off to a faster start. On defense, and this isn't going to show up in the stat sheet. You're not going to find this in any type of like countable category. But Ed Oliver, him being back in the lineup, it made a huge difference. The pressure he was able to get up the middle, and in the run game, the way he was able to stuff the run, just his presence out there, you could see the difference that it made. Even though at the end of the day, I think he had one tackle. Like there was nothing fancy about his numbers, but that's what Ed Oliver has been bringing to the table all season. And it was really, really good to see him out there. And obviously, he is a very important factor in our defense. So glad to have him back. And he's going to have a big game this weekend, yes, where our whole D line is going to. So
honestly, I'm hoping to see Vaughn not be on a snap count. Because I think he has been.
I think Vaughn is getting back to normal. I don't think last game he was. I think he was in, but they are trying to keep him for the end of games when we need him, which I think is a smart idea.
I think you should start it in the beginning, like for a couple drives, and then take him out, put him back in towards the middle. So
the way that our defense works, it doesn't really work like that. Like it all just rotates. They'll pass on some extra Vaughn turns because they don't want him. They want him to slowly ramp up. They don't want him to do too much too quick. Again, he's only been back 4 weeks. It's really not that long when you look at that kind of injury. And most guys take 4 to 6 weeks to start looking normal. So I get what you're saying, but the way our defense rotates that line, you really can't schedule it out like that. Because if you have a drive that lasts 12 plays on defense, you're not going to play the same 4 guys up front for all those plays. It doesn't matter who they are. So it just kind of depends on how quick you're getting off the field. You know what I mean? All right. Anything else you want to add about the Tampa Bay game?
No.
Okay. Well, let's move on to your favorite segment here, which is Factor Flag. So the way that Factor Flag works is I'm going to say a statement, and the whole point is to guess whether it is a fact or it is false, which would make it a flag. Now, anybody in the chat can feel free to answer, or if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to comment below what your guesses were, or, cheat and look like a genius and get them all right. Either way. Mini Mafia here is going to wave the yellow flag if he believes it's false, or he's going to say fact if you believe it's a fact. So, you ready for the first one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Bills haven't won in Cincinnati since 2006.
I was thinking that's a fact.
You think that's a fact? Okay. That is a flag. I can't remember the year that we won, but it was within the last 5 years. It might have been 2019 or 2017. It was definitely more recent than that. So we have had some success in Cincinnati. Overall, we do have the lead in the overall matchups between us. I think it's 17-13 if you count regular season, and we're actually 0-3 against Cincinnati in postseason. So it would be 17-16 if you count postseason. So throughout our history, we're 0-3 to them. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Also winning.
Well, what do you mean we're winning?
So far, we're winning in the matchups.
Yes, we're winning overall in the matchups. Okay.
Even if you count the postseason.
You ready for the next one?
Yep.
Okay. So Joe Burrow last week playing against the San Francisco 49ers had an 89.3 QBR. So QBR is a metric that's out of 100. 100 would be perfect. That's a very high one, yes. So he had an 89.3 QBR last week. In his career, in games following a game where he has had a QBR of higher than 80, he has not done so great. His QBR as a whole in the games following games of a QBR of an 80. So you understand what I'm saying? So he has a QBR of at least an 80. The next week,
he doesn't do so.
If you average out his QBRs, it is under 50.
Under 50?
Under 50. 50 is the average QB in the league. So you think that's a flag? Okay. Sorry, but you're over 2. So he actually averages 49.7 or something like that. But he is just under 50. He's only really had one time in his career where he had really excellent games back to back. And that was the year that they beat the Chiefs to get into the last week of the playoffs, the last week of the regular season, and then they beat him again in the playoffs. So he's historically has not performed at that super high level in back-to-back weeks. So we'll see what happens this week, but found that one interesting. Okay. You ready for the next one? Okay, we're gonna do 4 today. So the Bengals have the 5th lowest yards per game offensively. 5th lowest in the NFL yards per game offensively. What do you think?
The 5th lowest?
5th lowest. So they would be ranked 28th in the NFL. Fact or flag?
Wait, in yards per game?
Yep, yards per game. Overall yards per game. You think that's a flag?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the Bills are down there.
No, the Bills are actually way up. The Bills are in like the top 5 still. We're still down from last year, but we're up there.
I'm saying flag.
It is actually a fact. So the Bengals
So for my chart is letting me down, Mom.
Yeah.
I wrote out what my answers were going to be: fact, flag, and fact.
So last season, the Bengals averaged 353.8 yards per game. So far this season, only 276 yards per game. That is a huge difference. That's 75 yards less per game
That's a runoff
that they're averaging. Yeah, that's a lot. Now, the last 3 games, they have gotten better. They've been up to 331 over the last 3 games. But it's still drop off, from last year. So clearly their offense. Now, some of this was about Joe Burrow's injury. Some of this, was about like the Bills, the same issues the Bills have been going through of just not clicking and not being in rhythm. I think the Bengals will figure it out. I think they are figuring it out. I think their trajectory is up. I am definitely not counting them out for the season. I think they're still a very good team. So I think they'll get it all worked out. And maybe by the end of the year, they'll be back up close to where they were before. But as of right now, they are the 5th lowest yardage in the NFL per game. Okay, so you ready for the last one? You got to get one right this week. You went 0 for last week too, right? And maybe the week before too.
I've not gotten one.
All right.
No, I got one right last week.
Did you get one right? Okay.
Yes.
Ready? So this is your last one. Ready? Josh Allen has not thrown, this part is a fact, I'll tell you that. Josh Allen has not thrown 3 TDs in a game or more since week 4 at Miami when he threw 4. Week 4 versus Miami when he threw 4. That would be.
I thought he threw it in Washington.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
But Washington was before Miami anyway. But he might have, but that was before. So that's 4 weeks in a row that Josh Allen has not had at least 3 touchdown passes. Since 2020, Allen has not played 5 consecutive games where he hasn't thrown at least 3 touchdown passes. Since 2020.
He hasn't had at least
that would be
5
when Diggs got
consecutive.
here. Yep. So since 2020, he has not had at least 5 consecutive games where he hasn't thrown at least 3 touchdown passes.
So since 2020,
in one game,
he's had 3 consecutive games.
No. Since 2020, at least once every 5 games, he's thrown at least 3 touchdown passes.
That's a fact.
You think that's a fact?
Because
in one game, I mean.
Yeah. Wait. Well, not now.
Well, he's got 4 right now in a row where he hasn't thrown 3.
4?
Yep. So that's what I'm saying. He's never gotten to that 5th game since 2020. So 2020, 2021, and 2022 season, he did not spend 5 straight games without throwing 3 touchdown passes. What do you think?
So he hasn't hit that 5 game without throwing a 3rd touchdown pass?
Without throwing 3 touchdowns in one of the games, yes.
I think that's a fact, honestly. But I don't think so, because this year.
Well, he couldn't have done it this year because there's not enough games.
Yeah.
He threw it in the Miami game, which was only week 3. Or week 4. So if he threw, it wouldn't have mattered what he did in week 1, 2, and 3. He threw 4 in Miami, so it's not 5 weeks in a row. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's 5 weeks in a row of 2 or less touchdown passes.
I'm going to say it. Wait, I need to know the question again.
Okay. Since 2020, Allen has not played 5 consecutive regular season games where he hasn't thrown at least 3 touchdown passes in one of them.
So you're saying that it's either a fact or a flag that he hasn't thrown 3 touchdown passes in 5 straight games.
Do you believe that Josh Allen has had a 5 consecutive games since 2020 where he hasn't thrown at least 3 touchdown passes in one of those 5 games?
I don't understand the question.
I don't know why this is tough. There's 5 games in a row where he throws 2 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown pass, 0 touchdown passes in each of them. 5 games with less than 3 touchdown passes.
I still don't understand the
Okay,
question.
we're just going to move on.
I'm going to say it's a flag.
It is a flag. So he had 5 straight games where he didn't throw 3 touchdown passes, I believe back in 2020. And in 2021, he actually had a 7-game span where in none of those games did he throw 3 touchdown passes. So it is in fact a flag. So you got it right. I'm not sure why we're confused here, but that's okay. We're just going to move on, okay? Okay. It's okay. No big deal. Let's just move on. So on to things to watch for. So this upcoming game against the Bengals is a very big game, especially because Miami is playing the Chiefs. I personally do not believe Miami will beat the Chiefs. So that means if we beat the Bengals and Miami loses to the Chiefs, we are back in first place in the AFC East. And we're getting close to that point in the season where paying attention to the division standings and who's in and out of the playoffs soon will be relevant. Not quite yet, but it would still be nice to enter that time on top, in my opinion. So what would you say is one of your keys to the games, offensively or defensively? What do you want to start with?
Defense and our new cornerback, Rashad Douglas.
Hey, I think that's a good one. Are you excited to see him play?
I am. I've heard that he shows up in big moments and that he has had at least, I'm pretty sure, 1 pick in either the fourth quarter or overtime at the end of games.
Yeah, he has the most interceptions of any quarterback since the start of the 2021 season in the fourth quarter or overtime of games. So yes, clearly he shows up in big moments. He's clutch. And that's exactly the kind of guy that we need. I'm with you. I think all 3 of them are going to be really fantastic additions, but I'm very excited to see not only for this season how he pairs with Benford, but also being that we didn't go out and sign the most expensive guy. We didn't get a Surtain. We didn't get a Jalen Johnson. I think Rashad Douglas is a better fit. He was a lot cheaper. We really just traded back from the 3rd to the 5th round to pick him up. It really wasn't, we didn't give up much. We're not going to have to pay him as much as those other guys. So it could be possible that we could have Douglas and White out there together, and that could be a really dynamic cornerback duo. Now, if we had picked up a guy like Surtain or Jalen Johnson, who is much younger, and he's been elite this year, but prior to this year, there's not like you can't call him elite. So if that's the case, we may have had to say goodbye to White in order to pick up one of those other guys. And I didn't want to do that. So I think Rashad Douglas was a perfect pickup.
A special place in my heart because he's the jokester.
Yeah.
And he's been through so many tough times that I don't want him to leave. I wanted him to finish his career in Buffalo.
I 100% agree. He was the first pick for Sean McDermott when he got here, first draft. And he's Buffalo through and through, like the Trey White Goalie Academy jokes and just who he is as a person. He fits in very well in Buffalo. I love him in our system. I don't think he would be nearly as successful in another system. So I think it's mutually beneficial for him to stay. And I don't care how talented those other guys are. They're not Trey White. And I would rather stick with a guy who is talented and clutch and solid and Trey White than a superstar and say goodbye to Trey White. So I also think that Rashad Douglas could be very beneficial for guys like Benford to learn behind. So I really think that this could be really good. And if it doesn't work out, we say goodbye to him after this year. It doesn't cost us that much. If it does work out, great. Then we have some serious depth at that outside corner. And that's either way, it's a positive. So I'm with you on that one. Think about your offensive key to the game too, for the game coming up while I'm talking about my defensive. So for me, the defensive key to the game is going to be the same as it is a lot of times, which is pressure on the quarterback. I'm not sure if we'll have our new defensive tackle in. His name is slipping my mind right now, but even if he's Joseph, but I don't know if he'll be in. I doubt he will, and if he is, he won't play a whole lot. I don't think he'll be a big difference maker. But our guys who are in there, Rousseau, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, who's gotten kind of quiet lately, Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, those guys, Tim Settle. Those guys have got to make a difference. They have to get in Joe Burrow's face. It's going to be very much the way that we played Miami. They have to disrupt the timing of the routes. They're going to have to give Rashad Douglas or Dane Jackson or Christian Benford, whoever's playing back there, they're going to have to limit how long they have to cover. And the way you do that is pressure on the quarterback. You get pressure in that quarterback's face, and it changes everything else on your defense. It eases the pressure off of the rest of your defense. I also think that Joe Burrow is known for holding the ball for too long at times and taking a lot of sacks. So that's something that we can definitely exploit. And it's probably the only place we really have an advantage right now defensively.
We showed that we can
Mhm.
because of the Washington game.
And I don't care if they're sacks necessarily. We just need that constant pressure. So even if you're not getting the sacks, if you're forcing him to throw the ball before he wants, it's a success for me. What about offensively? What would you say is your key to the game?
My offensive is Stephon Diggs. He has had some quiet games.
Quiet for him. They're still good, but yes, he was quiet last week.
Him. And honestly, he needs a big game. Like, he needs to have a big game day. Even though he's not game.
Yeah, I think in big moments like this,
to have a big game.
I would agree. I think in moments like this, you really want your stars to show up. And Diggs is one of the stars. Now, we proved last week that we can spread the ball out and move it efficiently, but that doesn't mean that Diggs has to disappear. So I expect a big game out of Diggs this week. I still want Shakir and Davis and Kincaid to be involved and James Cook, but I want to see Diggs. I want to see him getting into a rhythm and getting open and making plays. For me personally, I have a few different offensive keys to this game. So one of them is Josh's legs. Make the defense guess. Make the defense think about what Josh is going to do back there. Do not make it easy on them. Do not let them sit back and get in those passing lanes and not have to worry about Josh taking off. So early on in the game, you have to call a few plays that force them to be aware that Josh will take off. Doesn't mean Josh has to take any hits. Just means you have to make it a threat. Another offensive key to the game for me is I am so sick of seeing you run out of shotgun. Stop running the ball out of shotgun. I don't care if it works once. It doesn't work the other 6 times. Stop doing it. And it's more effective to run it under center. Maybe once a game, run it there. Do not do it in a short yard situation. Don't do it on the goal line. But if you want to try to pull off a draw and a second and long or something just to see if you can catch them off guard if they have a small package in, fine. Other than that, if it's a running down, he should be under center. I'm so sick of seeing that. Another thing that I have here is Kincaid. The Bengals defense gives up more fantasy points to tight ends than any defense in the league. So it would be really nice to see Kincaid stay on this role and continue to make a big difference there. The Bengals defense is middle of the pack in terms of their overall defense, but they're giving up the 3rd highest yards per rush and the 4th highest yards per pass. So what that tells me is since their defense is not also ranked very low, that it's not just that they're bad, but they're giving up big plays. So if that big play ability is going to be there, you need to be patient and wait for it to open up, and then you need to take advantage and make the play. You can't make mistakes against a team like Cincinnati. They will make you pay for it. So this would be my these would be my biggest offensive keys, and I know it's a lot of them. One more that I'll mention here real quick, something the Bengals defense has been very, very good at is takeaways per game. They are, I believe, 4th highest in takeaways per game, or maybe even 2nd. But either way, they're averaging 1.9 takeaways per game. So that's almost 2 times they're taking the ball away every game. That's a lot. So we need to make sure that we are taking care of the ball. Can't give them free possessions, can't give them free points, can't take points off the board for us. So those would be my offensive keys to the game. So anything else you want to add there to the keys to the game?
No.
Okay. All right. We're flying through here tonight. Look at us. All right. So now we're going to move on to Josh Allen's stat line. So what do you think Josh Allen's stat line is going to look like this week?
I think my Josh Allen stat line is going to look like 293 yards.
Okay.
24 for 33.
Okay.
1 interception, unfortunately. 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
72 rushing yards,
Wow.
and 1 rushing touchdown.
So you think he's going to have 5 total touchdowns? You got him having a day, huh? I like it.
I almost always have him having a day, and it almost never shows up.
Well, it does sometimes, and I do think that there is an offensive explosion that's coming for Buffalo, and it's a matter of when it comes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a huge day like that. My numbers are actually pretty big too this week, bigger than they have been. I see him. I think Josh likes when the quarterback across from him is considered elite. I think he ups his game. So I'm seeing Josh having about 320 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. I think that he'll have another 50 yards on the ground. And I think, again, this is a big one. 0 turnovers. I think Josh is going to really take care of the ball. And other than that one pass that was deflected by the blitzer, it was a weird play. He shouldn't have thrown it. He should have just tried to scramble out of the sack or take the loss, throw it away, something. I do not think Josh is going to turn the ball over in this game. So I don't know if anybody else will, but I do not believe Josh will. So that would be my Josh Allen stat line. 320, 3 passing TDs, 50 rushing yards, no turnovers is the key. So we'll see. If any of you out there are watching this, if you have a stat line you want to share with us, please, by all means, put it down in the comments. We'll see who was right at the end of the week.
And there is a new segment we're doing, which is Hot Take Review.
Yes.
From earlier weeks. My hot take last week was that Vaughn would get 2 sacks. He had a very quiet game for Vaughn.
He did get some pressure at times, though. I think he was a factor more than he had been in previous games this year.
He's definitely looking like himself, but he didn't have 1 sack.
No, but he's getting there. You can see it slowly coming along. That jump off is getting a little quicker. It's a process. People want him to come off of IR, be on the active roster, and just be, the Von Miller he was last year right before Thanksgiving. That's not how it works.
You can't do that right away. It's definitely going to take you a couple of weeks.
Yeah. You got to get that timing back. You got to get that physical shape back, right?
And whoever thinks that, you try it yourself. I've never been injured like that, and most people probably haven't. But for the few people that have, it's hard to get back.
And they're professional athletes, and that what they do takes a huge, just the body control and the strength and the athleticism it requires. You don't just roll out of bed and have that ability. And there's so many things that can't be replicated in practice. So it doesn't matter how much Von practiced. He still missed almost a year of football, and he's been back for 4 weeks. So that's a lot of making up to do. And he's not in that game shape, game headspace yet. So I think by the playoffs, he will be back to himself. But watching him have a big game, even if it's just for his confidence and the confidence of the defense, I think we'll go a long way. I also think the new defensive tackle we brought in, Joseph, could end up really opening things up for the edge rushers. So we'll see what happens there. Speaking of the hot take review, I did nail my hot take last week. I said Gabe Davis would have a big game. I said he would have around 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. He did end up with 9 catches for 87 yards and a TD. So I actually bet on that and won. It was around a 450, plus 450. So, or minus 450. I always get confused, but it was like a 4.5 to 1. So I hit on it just a little bit. I just goof around with it, but I actually did hit on it. I put my money where my mouth was, and I bet Gabe Davis had to have over 50 yards receiving, a touchdown, and the Bills had to win. And all those things happened. So that was a pleasant little treat. It wasn't a lot. I don't bet a lot. But this week, I got to be honest with you guys. I do not have the same kind of true gut feeling that I've had in some previous weeks that I've gotten it right, but I am going to still offer a hot take. I'm not sure how. It's not the hottest of takes, but it is there. I believe the Bills' offensive explosion is going to happen this week, and I think they're going to have close to or over 500 yards of total offense. So I think the run game will get going. I think Josh will be on fire, and I think no matter what the outcome of the game is, I believe that that the Bills' offense will put up over 500 yards of total offense.
There has been one comment so far, surprisingly, and it is by basically one of our closest friends.
Our biggest supporter, right?
Yes, our biggest supporter, Beth She said, "Evening. Good evening to you. I hope your kids are doing well, and go Bills."
Go Bills. Evening, Beth. We went on a little early tonight, so you probably jumped in at 7:30 thinking that we were just starting. And unfortunately, we are almost finishing up, but it'll be available on here if you want to go back and watch, Factor Flag and our review of last week's game and stuff like that. But thank you so much for coming on and always showing your support for us. It really, really, truly means a lot to us. And
it means a lot to everybody that supports us because we just started this 2 years ago.
Last season.
Yeah, last season. I wasn't that confident that I was going to take off, but now look where we are. We have a ton of supporters, and me and Mafia Mom and Tommy, all of us, the entire program supports all of our supporters. Like, it's like they're almost family because like they take the time out of their day to watch us when it's just
and leave
Bills
comments
football.
and likes and stuff.
So
and
it means a lot, and I hope that we can have you guys on sometime.
Yeah.
I really want to meet your kids.
It's always fun interacting. I personally am just doing it because it's something that him and I can do together. But it's always nice to be able to talk with other members of Bills Mafia. It's the greatest fan base in sports. So thank you again for being here tonight. We are actually all the way down to our score prediction, Beth. So if you want to share that, please feel free to put it in the comments. What would your score prediction be for this week here, Mini Mafia? First. I'm going to go first. Okay. I got to tell you, I'm torn here. There is the Homer side of me, and then there is the football analytics side of me. I'm going to go with the Homer side because this is a Bills podcast. But this game scares me. And the Bengals needed a lot more than the Bills do. And that also scares me. The extra rest will be helpful. It looks like we're getting healthy. Josh was a full participant today in practice.
That's good considering he went to the blue tent last
Yeah, and he didn't practice yesterday. He was a DNP. So, but he was full participant today. He's going to play. But I'll stop stalling here. No, there's definitely not. I'll stop stalling here. My score prediction is a Bills win 31-27. So 31-27. That's what I'm seeing. What do you see? What do you got going on?
I think we're gonna have. I did this by accident, by the way. I think we're going to have a 69 total points in the entire game.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be 38-31 Bills win.
Okay.
So hopefully.
Hey, I'll take 38 points. That would I think, calm a lot of fans down and make a lot of people feel better about the way the offense has been playing. I don't love the idea of giving up 31 points, but, we got a couple new pieces on defense that aren't going to be quite worked in yet. So if we give up 31 this week and still win the game, I can live with that. Anything that puts a W on the board for us, I can live with. Again, I'd really like to be in first place in AFC East by the end of this weekend. And to be honest with you, if we lose and Miami loses, the Jets are also going to be up there with their record. So they could actually be moving. Yeah. And they have the tiebreaker over us. So, and they play the Chargers. So that's a very winnable game for them. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, again, we started at 7 tonight, so I do apologize to anybody who was coming in to catch us at 7:30. But the show will be available right after. You can start from the beginning, or you can even go back now. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close this one out?
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay.
There's been, for the past few weeks, there's been talk about Diggs not liking Buffalo still.
It's been going on for months.
Yeah. I don't get who thinks Diggs doesn't like Buffalo when him and Allen have been friends since 2020. There have been magazines. There have been I'm pretty sure they have had a couple news stories.
I only know of the Sports Illustrated thing, but they clearly were friends, yeah.
They are friends. I don't know why Diggs would turn on Bills Mafia when he's been here for, I think, this is his 4th year with us.
Yep.
He's been here for 4 years. He's fell in love with the fans. He would never leave. I guarantee he's going to finish out his career here.
Well, you said that last year when he signed his extension. I understand. And what it is that these people need something to talk about. Like, it gets boring just, oh, well, the Bills are good, but let's see what they do in the playoffs. Like, they need something to fill the space and get clicks during the season when there's not really anything changing drastically from week to week. So, I think our guys, our players in the locker room, I think they laugh at it, to be honest with you. Like, clearly Diggs is
Especially
happy.
us.
If you're watching him on the sideline, the only time that he even got upset this year was reportedly about himself. Like, he's been the most positive factor on that sideline. He actually had a meeting with the players before they went out and played in the Tampa game. And McDermott talked about his leadership and like how much it's improved and how impressed he was with the way that he spoke to his teammates and the way that his teammates responded to him. So clearly Diggs is very happy here. He's taken on that leadership role. It's been great to see. I'm with you. The story should just die already, but it won't. AJ Brown was throwing a hissy fit and getting in Jalen Hurts' face week 2 or week 3 when they were winning games because he wasn't getting the ball enough and nobody talked about it. Yet Diggs is over there talking about keep your chin up, whether he's having a good game and the Bills are losing or he's having a bad game and the Bills are winning. He is this same positive guy over there. And it just gets ignored unless he does something that people can critique and try to spin into him being upset with Buffalo. So ignore the noise. They don't know.
The thing is, I went to Jim Kelly camp.
Mm-hmm.
I went in the Bills locker room, and Sean McDermott puts a fresh jar of the rubber pellets in their lockers every year to remind them that it's their home turf. Don't give it up.
Cool. I did not know that. That's very interesting.
And also in the locker room, there are giant paintings on the walls that spells out team. T for I think teamwork. E for energy. A for attitude. And I forgot what M was.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool story to hear.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Especially the turf part, because I collected turf.
Yeah. Yes, you did. We have a piece of the field too, the old field, when they ripped it up. Remember, we have a piece of the ground.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't put it up in our house yet.
I know. We needed well, we were supposed to paint the walls. That's a whole other thing. But yeah. So okay, anything else you wanted to add? What are you doing? Sit down. What are you doing?
Just a jersey fold down.
Oh, it's okay. Just leave it. It's okay. So nothing else you want to add, you said?
No.
Okay. Well, then thank you guys so much for checking us out tonight and being with us. And until next week, this one's a big one.
Go Bills!